Corsair K70 RGB Rapidfire is easily the nicest mechanical keyboard that my grubby little fingers has ever had the chance to touch. The new Cherry MX speed switches are something to behold. They remind me of a shortened MX Red, which is essentially what they are. The light operation of 45 grams and the shorter 1.2mm actuation travel versus the standard 2mm switches allows for quick movements in-game and faster typing. At least for me. I currently own a CM Storm Quickfire Rapid 10 keyless and a Funk KB 460. Both have Cherry MX Browns in them. While I love my Browns for typing, there's something about these new MX speed switches that I love while gaming. They're smoother and the movement feels crisp, while the tactile bump of the MX Browns feels like it has something caught in it. I don't know, it almost feels grainy. Up top, we have the media controls with the glorious little volume roller. I love that thing. Windows key lock, LED brightness button, number lock, caps lock, scroll lock indicators, a BIOS switch, and finally a pass-through USB port to connect a thumb drive or a controller. The keycaps are nice with large, highly visible letters and numbers on them, but it isn't flawless in this area. The diamond plate inspired texture on this spacebar is easily my biggest gripe about this keyboard. This is of course very subjective, as I've noticed a lot of people online actually prefer the textured spacebar, but I just can't stand it. For whatever reason, I can't stand the way that it feels on my thumb. It almost makes my thumb feel like it's going numb. The K70 RGB Rapidfire is very well made though. Solid construction and a decent amount of weight, which is a good thing because it keeps it on your desk during those heated battles. There's zero flex in this board and the feet are very, very sturdy. The wrist rest is decent, has a nice texture, kind of slick to the touch, but that's kind of nice in a way because it allows your wrist to move ever so slightly while typing. The lighting. I have to say, I never really cared for the whole RGB blinking lighting effect disco ball stuff. But now that I've used one for a little while, it's actually kinda nice and it's pretty fun as well. The clear housings of these MX speed switches really allows the lights to shine through extremely well. They're very bright, they're very vibrant. All of the keys seem to be evenly lit, none are brighter than the others, and I had no dead LEDs upon arrival. Let's jump into the software, and that's where I may have another con, but it's actually not too bad. All right, so here we are, guys. Now we are in Q, which stands for Corsair Utility Engine. Now, this is already a con for me because somebody who has a Corsair H110i GT, as somebody that has an H110i GT water cooler and Corsair link to where you can control all that stuff, it would be really nice if they just put all of this crap into one software. Corsair, what are you doing? Why do I need a separate thing for my gaming peripherals than I do my water cooler? Let me do everything in one program. One program. I can go and adjust my fan speed, my pump speed, check my temperatures, whatever, and then switch over and do my lighting for my keyboard. Then I can switch over and do my lighting for my mouse if I have a Corsair mouse. Then I can switch over and do, the lighting for my headset if I have a Corsair headset, or adjust the volume settings, or whether it's 7.1 or stereo, whatever. Why on earth do I have to have multiple softwares running at one time? That really irritates me, and I really wish that they would fix that. But anyway, on to the actual software and the meat and the potatoes of the keyboard. As you can see here in my I have a camera right off frame here, capturing the keyboard. So I'm gonna try to throw all this up there. It might be a little busy. If it is a little busy, I'm sorry, but this is the best way that I could do it. I didn't want to not capture myself because I feel it's very impersonal, but I also wanted to capture the software that I was using, but I also wanted to capture what the effect is doing to the keyboard itself. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, macros. Again, like I did with my last keyboard keyboard and mouse reviews and stuff, I don't go through macros. Everybody, if you're buying these things and you're buying a mouse or a gaming related peripheral or anything like that, and you have a use for macros, then you already know what macros are. You can set it up to do pretty much anything you want it to do, from one key press or multiple key presses, whatever it is that you're going to do. So I'm not going to go in through the macros. So the first thing I'm going to jump right into is the software, how well it runs, how well it operates, and the lighting, and those types of things, all right? So first up is the macros and the profiles. You can have separate profiles. So you can set up a profile for you can set up a profile for your brother, your friend, your wife, girlfriend. If she comes in here and she decides that she wants the game on your computer, you can set up separate profiles for all of you. So that way they don't have to sit there and mess with all of your crap after you spent loads of time getting it set up. So you can have multiple different profiles. You can import profiles from people online. You can export them to, I'm sure they have some kind of forum or some kind of website where people are uploading their own profiles, and you can download those. It does different lighting effects. I mean, you could literally do anything on this keyboard. You could set it up to do anything. Okay. So anyway, now this is basically the macro section. This is where you set up your action list and all that other stuff. And here's your list of all the different macros and text and keystrokes and shortcuts that you can set up, and name, notes, date, type, and summary. You put in all that information, so that way you can log the different things that you have set up on it. Lighting, same thing. You can set up individual little lighting things. Like if you wanted like they already have an FPS mode and they have a MOBA mode. So FPS obviously focuses on WASD, Control, Shift, and numbers 1 through 4 for changing weapons. I believe the MOBA ones, it basically switches the keys on to where it's like QWERTY and all that kind of stuff, because QWER and all that stuff like that. S&D, I believe, as well, for like Dota and League of Legends and all that kind of stuff. So they already have lighting modes like that. Then you have settings. So you have the device, which tells you what firmware you're on. It does say that I can update the firmware. I didn't do that. I updated the program, the software, but I didn't update the firmware to the keyboard, because the keyboard seems to be running fine. I don't know what the firmware update is. I didn't go and look at it. But the keyboard seems to be running fine, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I will look into that, or actually my buddy will, because my buddy, it's his keyboard, and he let me borrow it to do a review and to test it out and all that good stuff. So big kudos to you, Justin, for doing that. So anyway, he can update the firmware if he's having a problem with it. It's run flawless for me, so I'm not going to touch it. All right, so back to profiles. We have assignments for macros, and we have lighting. Now, this is the part that most everybody that is dealing with an RGB peripheral of any kind is going to be the most excited. Because this is where you get to play around. This is where you get to make it yours. This is where you get to change it to do everything and anything that you want. So I'm going to run through the preset default effects and everything. So the first one you have is a spiral rainbow, which you can see on the screen and on the camera, hopefully. I mean, I don't know how well it's picking it up, because I do kind of have a light for my face, so it might not be that bright, but I can throw up some individual footage in the middle of it to give you a better idea, because I kind of went through them in a dark room. I turned off all the lights at night, and it was pitch black in here, and I just had the keyboard lit up. So I'll throw up some of those really fast, in between all of these, just to give you a better idea. So then you have Rainbow Wave, which basically does RGB, and it goes from the top to bottom. I'll get into editing them in a minute. Then you have Visor, which basically just has it go across, back and forth. You can change what color it is if you wanted to. If you select all the keys, we'll get into that. Then you have Rain, which is kind of cool. I like this one a little bit. You saw that in the intro video, because it went perfect with the music and everything. So that's where I got the idea for doing the pretty the fun little intro that I did. Color shift is exactly what it sounds like. It just shifts between the colors, rotates through them all. Color pulse, same thing. It's the breathing effect, but each time that it comes on, it changes color. Or you can have it just to where it's one color, one solid color. Color wave. kind of like the first one, except for this one, it's not constantly all on. It just, it pulses through, it stops, does it again, it stops, and it changes color in between. Then you have the type lighting, which this is key presses. So as I type it, you can see on the screen, but you can also see up here that key that I'm hitting stays lit. And of course it's set to where it's random colors. So each time you type it, it'll turn a random color and then it will slowly fade away as you're typing. The next one is the ripple. You hit a key and it ripples out. And if you have it set on random colors, each time you hit a key, it'll ripple out that the next color. Or you could set it up to where, like for Christmas, you got it set up to where it alternates between red and green. So as you're typing, it goes red, green, red, green, red, green, red, green. So like, we'll get into that. Here we go. So we have random, you have alternating. So let's do that. Let's do bright green, do a neon green, and we'll do a red. And okay. So now, as you can see, as I'm typing, it's very Christmassy. It goes between red, green, red, green, red, green, and it just sits there and bounces back and forth. And if I hit way over here on the enter key, you'll see it ripple all the way across the keyboard until it finishes. Pretty cool. I like the idea. It's a lot of fun. You can really, like I said, you can really make this keyboard your own. Now, this is where the other bit is. Right now, the background is set to black for this because obviously you don't want it to be blinking all crazy and then have a ripple effect whenever you do it, because then you won't see the ripple effect. So we got a spiral rainbow. You see how it just goes back to all this. Now, the thing that is cool is that, let's say if I go back to ripple, I can actually select individual keys. You can hold down control. It's just kind of do the ripple effect. You can hold down the control and you can do W, A, S, and D, control and shift. I'll undo escape. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you want to make it that, and then boom, you can turn those red. So now you can see that only those keys are red right now. And that's how it'll stay. It'll stay that way. Even if I'm typing over here, it'll still do the ripple effect, but once the ripples stop, those keys stay red. You can go through and you can highlight the entire board and turn the entire one half of it green, the other half of it, or blue, and then the other half of it pink. You can do just these arrow keys if you really wanted to, and you can make those like a light pink. You can go take the number keys if you want the number pad to be different. You can make those just white. So you can literally do anything and everything you want to with this board. You can change the color of every single individual key. Now in the editing, you can change clockwise, counterclockwise for different ones. You can do slow, medium, or fast for each one. So like color pulse, you can have it to where it pulses slow. So as it's fading out, let's go back to, hold on. Let's go back, select all these and do black. So that way it fades out to nothing. There you go. So I have it set on slow so it'll breathe slow, but that's basically it in a nutshell. It's pretty crazy what you can do. You can come through and have lighting effects for certain things. You have standard settings or advanced settings. So standard settings is basically just you set it up and you're done. Advanced settings is you can go through and you can edit every single thing. So yeah, pretty nuts. I do like it though. I've never been a fan of the whole RGB thing. I've always seen streamers with it. I've always seen people with it, and I'm kind of like, why? Like, I mean, it is kind of distracting to me. I like just a solid color. So if I had this board, I probably wouldn't have this board because I'm not really a huge fan of the whole RGB thing. The one thing that I will say though is I probably would just end up leaving it on a solid red color because I'm obviously black and red all the way. But because I don't like the RGB, I would save the money and not buy the RGB one. I think it's like $60 difference for the RGB. So anyway, performance, you can disable the Alt Tab, you can disable Alt F4 so that way you don't accidentally do that and I guess close out of your game or whatever program you're in. I don't know why you would need that, but that's really it for the software. Like I said, you have different settings, the program, you can set it all up here. You can update the software, which it looks like it needs to be updated again. You can change the text size, macro recording options. You can change what media players. You can add a media player. So like if you have a media player that's not on here, you can add one to it. That way you can control it with the volume slider in it, which you can see on the little bar up in the top right or left corner. The volume's changing. I love that little roller bar. It really is awesome. I do like it a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the software and the keyboard review. It's a nice keyboard. If you want an RGB keyboard and you like the idea of the MX speeds, the Corsair K70 RGB Rapidfire with the MX speed keys is actually a damn good keyboard. I mean, I would probably give it like an 8 out of 10. If they would take away, or I think they even give you an option, my buddy and I were talking about it, I think they give you an option for requesting a smooth spacebar. If it came with both, because it does come with those extra keycaps, for WASD and the MOBA style keys or whatever, they do have those extra keycaps that you can put in there. If they came with a smooth spacebar and a textured spacebar with the rest of that stuff, I would give this a 10 out of 10. I just don't like the fact that they force you to use this weird textured spacebar. A lot of people, like I said, I've read that people have actually liked it, have actually gotten a smooth spacebar and said that they didn't like the smooth spacebar, they wanted the textured spacebar. So I guess it really is super subjective, but I absolutely hate the spacebar. I can't deal with it. So anyway, this has been Josh with Techtopia TV. This was the Corsair K70 RGB Rapidfire. 2 thumbs up from me. If you're looking for a keyboard that's a RGB and you're not, I guess, too worried about the bank account, then this is definitely a damn good keyboard. He got it on a decent sale on Cyber Monday, I believe it was, that he ended up buying it. So he got some off. It still was, you know, a decent price, but it was still up there on price. But that's how the RGB keyboards are, because they're the new hotness. So everybody wants one, so of course they're gonna be there's gonna be a little bit of a premium on it. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.